Will, talk to me.
ABC Tuesday.
They took his daughter. She's coming home alive.
Will Trent, the series critics are calling powerful must-see TV, continues to thrill.
Shouldn't we strategize before we go in there?
If we screw up this case, a cop killer walks free.
With the riveting conclusion to a 2-part season premiere.
GBI!
Help me!
Get down!
Will Trent, all new Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Join us on a journey, you glorious human, to see yourself clearly and feel a little more awesome than you did before. It's Awesome with Alison. So you want to start a podcast? So you want to have some fun?
Is that a knockoff from another song?
No, it's literally nothing.
It's pretty sweet.
I'm really excited about this episode. And if you haven't wanted to start a podcast, I still think you should listen because, yes, we're going to get into a few technical things, but what I'm going to share are common stoppers or roadblocks that I hear a lot of people have when they want to try and do something new. So Eric and I have been doing ye old podcasty on and off, all around town, up and down, looks left and right for 7 years now. We came onto the podcast scene at a good time.
2017?
It was 2017. So it was common enough that most people could figure out how to listen to a podcast, but like older generation, I still had to explain to them how to use it.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy to make a podcast at that time.
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't easy. So this is episode 204. So you want to start a podcast, what we've learned from 7 years of podcasting, or what I like to call potting.
Potting.
Just a couple of kids potting around. Luckily, my husband was a sound engineer, a music engineer. And so we had all the equipment. And over the years, so many people have asked me my tips for starting a podcast. And I've usually been like, I'm useless. I'm absolutely useless because ask Eric because they like ask me like, what do you host on? What do you do? I'm like, I don't know. Just talk to Eric. And speaking of talking to Eric, Eric's a busy boy.
Yeah, it's true.
He's got a lot going on. And he's also, I want you to share some of the different types of podcasts that you've been working on now, because now you're like this podcast extraordinaire. So what I want for this episode, though, is just sit back, relax, and let us take you on a journey of what it's like to do something. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode is because there are going to be some shifts and changes coming up in the podcast. Big shifts, big changes. And one of them is going to be bye, bye, bye.
See you later, suckers.
Are you even sad?
I'm so sad.
You're not sad at all.
I've had a good time doing the podcast. It's not like I'm stoked to not do it again, but yeah, I think the new direction you have is going to be really fun.
I know. So more on that to come. I'll start with one of mine and let's go into yours. When I was thinking about starting this podcast in 2015 and 2016, I had a few podcasts I really liked and I really wanted to start one. I just focused on what I would want to listen to. And as I have been thinking a lot about the podcast and what I want to do going forward, the changes I want to make, the shifts that we're going to do, that's what I've returned to. And ultimately, I've returned to, I love this podcast. I love this format. I want something a little different. If I'm going to turn on a podcast, I want something a little different now. And that's what I've really been leaning into. If you want to start a podcast, you want to start any type of media project or any project, I think a really good starting point is, what do you consume? What do you like? What do you pay attention to? What serves you? What do you enjoy consuming? Because I realized right from the get-go, I don't love listening to podcasts with interviews. I would listen to some like startup interview types of podcasts, Or like I loved Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn, but I loved his solo episodes, but I also trusted him with the guest he was going to bring on. So I realized like I don't just love listening to like podcasts that always have an interview because I don't like trust that I'm going to be interested in the interview. Mm-hmm. Whereas other people are completely different that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was something that was really important to me. Another thing that was really important to me is having the energies balanced. If somebody's just like up, I like a straight man. And that's why I wanted Eric. When I sold him on doing the podcast with me in the beginning, I'm like, I have to have somebody to bounce the energy off of. There's got to be.
We're the same. What do you mean?
Oh, shut up. So truly, though, paying attention to, do you like fast conversation? Do you like slow conversation? Do you like when people tell you what they're going to say beforehand? Or they say, here's the things you're going to learn. Like they give you a summary. I'm like obsessed with format. I pay attention to how people format talks, lessons, coaching, speeches. Like I pay attention to formatting a lot. Movies, ads, how are we leading? How are we priming people for learning? And so also just really paying attention to the different containers and pieces that people pull together that you're like, oh, because when we first started the podcast, we had a lot more segments. And those segments, I really do believe, were very instrumental in helping us build community. Because we used to talk about funny things we'd like to eat or nobody cares about your kids. And I still have people repeat those things to me. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when I'm thinking about the new direction for the podcast that I'm shifting to, I have all these segment ideas. It's not necessarily something that we needed to or kept forever and ever, but we had Getting Booky with it. We had a lot of reoccurring segments. And that's because I enjoy reoccurring segments on other shows. Mm-hmm. So that's my first tip, is paying attention to what you like. But it's not just like what you like. It's like, how are they packaging it? How are they putting it together? How are they formatting it? What's the pace?
You like a variety show.
I do. I like a variety. I am a variety show.
It's true.
I know what it's like to feel crappy. I know what it's like to go to so many doctor appointments that it feels like it's your full-time job. And I know how frustrating it starts to feel when one specialist tells you to another person tells you to go to that person, and they're not in your network, and this one isn't covered by that. It can just be so overwhelming, and it's the easiest excuse not to take care of ourselves, not to get the things looked at or have the things checked on that if it was somebody we love, we would absolutely prioritize. I'm guiltier of this. I avoid doctors and going to the doctor probably more than the average person. Like I'm kind of extreme on this. And it's one of the reasons why I've had a couple of things that like I just didn't get to that became problematic. Anyway, you don't want to be like that. We don't want that for you. And I'm obsessed with ZocDoc because ZocDoc, it helps you eliminate all those excuses. It helps me eliminate those excuses because we know how not validating and icky it can feel to go to a doctor who doesn't listen to us. And with ZocDoc, it's a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors and click instantly to book an appointment. And I think the best way to think about doctors, therapists, anything like that is you're in charge. You know, yes, they have authority and expertise, but you get to find somebody who works with your personality, your preferences. And I really love this resource. I'm so happy it exists. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Alison to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/Alison. ZocDoc.com/Alison. And I can't wait for you to find the help you need. Okay, give me yours.
Okay, the first one's kind of obvious. Let music build the brand and the mood and let it be a portal into your podcast instead of just something because everyone has it. So when you're choosing something, you want to be able to...
Whoa. That was very insightful.
Oh, well, thank you.
That was like really insightful because you've been hired to do a lot of music for podcasts.
Yeah, a lot of people hire me to do music for their podcasts. You're absolutely right. So I ask them, I listen to their podcast. I see what they're talking about. And the thing about podcasts is there's so much noise in the world. When you're going into something, you want to go through a portal. You want to be taken to that spot. Like my favorite show is The Mighty Boosh. And the intro is amazing. Anytime I hear that, I get into a mood. I know what I'm going to come into. Don't let music just be a thing you're trying to fill space with. And then also just a technical tip. Most intros are between 15 and 30 seconds. And it's also nice to have it as an outros too. So an intro, outro. And then if you do any segments, think of using mnemonics, which is just like little sound things you can remember that tell you there's a change. Like we used to have the ding for the journey and things like that. So let music be something that will enhance your product instead of something that you think you just need to put in there because you're supposed to.
I love that. And I will say we used that Alison song for the intro because we started the podcast right after I did the birthday party dance party where I was like, we'll make a song and do a funny dance. And we just had the song, so we used it. And it became like little kids sing it to me. And people talk to me about the song all the time. And people have even said, I missed the song for when we changed. And that's okay too. I've just been itching for a change, which is, it was hard to come to this place of, I love working with Eric. We love Eric. I've been afraid to do a podcast without you because I don't think it will be as successful. And I don't think people will like me without you.
They will.
It's okay. They might not. But either way, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'll see what happens. But I really, really appreciate that. I love that. So my next tip, and again, this really is applicable to projects all over. I'm going to call the tip, master your metrics. That's what I'm going to call the tip. So when I first started the podcast in 2017, it did not occur to me that people would listen to it until I started getting comments. Because it was just like, I'm talking into this microphone. It's not as common of a thing. I was on Instagram. I had a blog. The metrics of the podcast, I was so in my head about my Instagram numbers at the time. The podcast was so refreshing because I couldn't see any numbers. I couldn't see any metrics. And so the metrics were not the master of me. Now, down the road, I started to become interested in the metrics and, people seem to really like when we do an episode like this. This is resonating with people. And the interesting conversation I was having with my brother is I was telling him how my new goal right now is 10K steps a day. And the reason why I love that as a metric to focus on for my health is because it's very positive, it's encouraging. There's lots of things that I just really like about it. But I also get I get that win every day when I hit my 10,000 steps. So the metrics are important, but if you pay too much attention of them too soon or you focus on the wrong metrics for too long, you're going to miss it. So right now, one of the reasons, and I literally am having the conversation after we record this with the podcast network of why I want to make some big changes in the podcast is twofold. The first is I've been itching for something different. And the second is the metrics are not showing any steady increase for the last 5 or 6 months or when we came back with the podcast. I could argue that there's more I could do to promote it, right? There's all these different things. But because the metrics also support my stagnant feeling, I'll listen to the metrics. Now, my brother and I were talking about, and I've been guilty of this in the past, something can really, really be working, but master your metrics in that if you are the type of person who can be very unemotional and you don't have your value or your worth tied to noticing the numbers, you're already doing great. Check the metrics, pay attention, they're going to motivate you. Awesome. You're a little bit more that way with the metrics. If you lean towards my tendency of you're going to get in your head and don't look at them for a while. And for me, for the last 4 or 5 months, I did not look at the metrics until last week. And the metric for me became a podcast episode gets up every week. That is my marker of success. That is my metric I am paying attention to. And we've been very successful at that. With the exception of once or twice, it's gotten up there. So once that metric is locked in, then I was ready to look at the next metrics. This show is sponsored by Liquid IV. Okay, so it's a new year, and I'm one of those people that likes to have a new ritual with like a new thing. We're just getting that new energy. And as Sabrina Carpenter would say, some of that young energy. And really what I need for more young energy is water. So the best news is that Liquid IV has 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients in a single serving. It's scientifically formulated to help replenish electrolytes and fluids, but it also hydrates more than water. So it's like supercharged power water.
I've been using it as a pre-workout, and it's been good.
Oh, yeah.
By the time I get to the gym, I feel ready.
And I've been using it when it's the end of the night and my lips feel dry. And I'm like, oh, have I had any water today? And so that is why for the new year, part of my new ritual is a Liquid IV right when I wake up. You're hearing it here first. I like the pina colada, maybe the sugar-free white peach. I like to put it in the water and just gubba so that I know none of it's being wasted. That's my ritual. And I want you guys to be able to get in on this too. So break the mold and your own ritual. Just 1 stick, 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone.
It's quite tasty too.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. So embrace your ritual with extraordinary hydration from Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code AWESOME at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code AWESOME at liquidiv.com.
A strong host game needs a strong wing game. Add Popeye's wings to your game day spread, and the crew won't just be cheering, they'll be salivating. With 8 bold, crispy Louisiana flavors to satisfy everyone's taste buds, our wing game is strong enough to always get you the W. At $5.99 for a 6-piece, order bone-in or boneless for your next watch party. Someone just wrapped up the title of Most Valuable Host.
Have that chicken from Popeyes.
At participating U.S. restaurants, price may vary, tax extra.
I'm Kristen Doty.
And I'm Luke Broderick. You might know us from Bravo's The Valley. We're hosts of the Balancing Act podcast.
Luke and I know we're all out here doing our best to balance life, love, work, play, family, friends, downfalls, and dreams. Life is full of ups and downs, and adulting can be hard.
We are still here to get real from both female and male perspectives, from very different walks of life, unfiltered and vulnerable.
Listen to Balancing Act wherever you get your podcasts.
Right? And so that's something I learned when I was working with my health coaches when I was training for my half marathon. They would start me on something like eat 20 grams of protein after your workout. And after a month or two where that was just second nature, then they would add another habit in. And I think the same thing is really helpful for metrics, where it's like you do need to focus on the metrics at some point, but just be smart about when and what metrics you're going to pay attention to.
Love it. Great advice.
Master your metrics.
Master your metrics.
In my day-to-day life, when I can feel that anxiety, those creepy crawlies just moving through my body, I have started to turn to meditation, breath work. It's the number one way I have noticed to shift the anxiety quickly for me and my body. And I'm so happy that Calm, because it's the number one meditation app and I use it and love it, has breath work on there now. Because I can do my own meditation, I can go into that space. I need somebody to help me with my breath work. I need somebody to tell me what to do with that breathing. There are grounding exercises, sleep stories, expert-led TED Talks. Calm really is such a valuable resource. And like I said, Calm is the number one app for sleep and meditation, giving you the power to calm your mind and change your life. So stress less, sleep more, and live better with Calm. If you haven't tried it, I really recommend you trying it. For listeners of our show, you're going to get 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/awesome. So go to calm.com/awesome for 40% off unlimited access to calm.com/awesome.
Sweet. From the time we started until now, there's been an incredible advance in software and tools to do your podcast. And so AI, whether you like it or not, is here, and it can be super helpful helping you to organize like ideas for your podcast and also the editing and getting clips from your podcast. I use something called Descript, Descript, and it's awesome. I can upload our files and it pulls up like a Word document. Then I can read and listen and take out filler words, and it even can make clips for me. Riverside FM makes clips for me it's another editing software. My point is, whether you use either one of those, there are AI tools to help you edit, take out filler words, get your thoughts concise, and then make social posts from those things.
What are you using that writes the episode descriptions now?
ChatGPT. So what I'll do is, once I'm done with editing the episode, I'll upload the final transcript into ChatGPT, and I'll say, hey, I need a episode description for it, and it spits out in Allison's voice.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll change a sentence or two, but most of the time it like nails it.
It's pretty trippy because I was very hesitant to doing it. I wrote all the episode descriptions, and it's the amount of money and time I've spent on things that now there is technology that is so easy is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But because I have a large body of written work and I have a book, and I've put out so much content, I can ask things to write it in my voice, and it like creeps me out. It nails it. There's like exclamation points. There's a little self-deprecating joke in there. And there's even sometimes it says like insert laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah.
But it has been really helpful.
It saves so much time because now I don't have to bug you. I don't have to bug you to write it. I'm like, oh, here we go. So utilize AI and these awesome softwares that can transcribe things. I think that is huge.
And I think that it's helpful. Riverside FM it's like a Zoom or...
It's a much better Zoom.
Yes, it's a much better Zoom for recording a podcast because it records my audio separately from the person I'm interviewing's audio. We've done Zoom, we've done Riverside FM. Having the Riverside FM with a guest that is not in the same location as you is my favorite.
Yeah, that's good. The next one I had was get a good sound. Nothing's more distracting than echoey rooms or a hum or some sort of feedback. This is also, because of technology, much easier. You can get on Amazon and get a podcasting kit for a couple $100. And it may be like, oh, that's super cheap. Look at the reviews. I have not tested all of these, but I've read the reviews and I've watched videos, and I know that the technology's improved so much over the last couple of years. Get those. Get in a room that's not just blank walls. Hang some curtains. Put some things on the walls so the sound doesn't bounce.
Go in a closet where there's tons of clothes hanging.
Yeah. If you design your room, you got to have things on the wall to catch the sound. Otherwise, it sounds like you're in a big barrel or just reverberates too much. So getting a good sound will make it so your listener is not distracted, because it's really distracting when there's something in the background. And this can, once again, be done relatively cheap. Get a podcasting kit with some decent microphones, recording equipment, and then make sure your room is good. And there are tons of YouTube videos where you could learn how to do it in 5 minutes. But I would make sure that is a priority.
I love that. And I'm glad I had you do your third tip, because it's solidified what I want my third tip to be. And it's get over yourself. Here's what I mean by get over yourself. Yes, having video is a big part of doing a podcast right now. And I kept that from letting us get the podcast restarted for so long because it felt so overwhelming to do the video aspect. And get over it. Get it up without the video, right? You don't have the professional equipment. Your phone actually sounds pretty good. Go sit in the closet with your phone and do a voice memo. Like, you aren't going to sound the most polished, the most professional, have it all figured out for your first episode.
No, our first episode sounds really bad.
Well, even some of the episodes that we've done coming back when we've been moving rooms and locations, like, we've messed with the sound. Mm-hmm. People are like, I hate the sound of my voice. Get over it. Get over it. You have a voice. Use it. Get over it. You're going to stumble over your words. We all stumble over our words. Get over it. I say this with all the love in my heart. Get over yourself so you can be yourself and you can get some of yourself that it could help the world out there. Because if you want to share, there's a reason. And it's not because you're a narcissist, and it's not because you just crave the validation of other people. It's because what you have to share matters. It's part of human nature. We all need it. We need that connection. And yeah, there are trolls. There are people who are gonna crap on you. One of the first reviews I got was negative. And it was like, I wanted to like this. Let me just tell you right now, if you're the type of person who leaves reviews that says, I wanted to like this, stop it. It's the meanest, most passive-aggressive way of rubbing salt in the wound. I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry if anyone's ever said that. I got real fiery about that. But get over yourself is, yeah, I'm worried to change what I thought was going to work. I'm worried that people aren't going to like it. I'm worried that I'm with this network and they're going to think I'm stupid. Like, truly, all of these things I'm worried about. And I am saying this to myself, Alison, get over yourself. We're always beginners. We're always the beginner. Like, even at something we've done for 7 years, I am a beginner podcaster in 2025. It's a different game out there. And people who have been podcasting for years and years, they're stuck in their way. They have different hurdles. And then people who are just getting started, you have like a savant, like an idiot savant, like truly, like you have a naivete that will be your unique value proposition. So all of the things that you think are keeping you from being a quote unquote legitimate, good, correct podcast or whatever it is, get over it, because it could be the exact thing that makes you a success. And I'm really passionate about that because more so than usual, the last couple of years, I've looked back rather than looking forward. And I think it's great to look back and learn and reflect, but you can't just let it keep you down because it's gone. It's over. It was awesome that our podcast was so wildly successful in 2019. Literally, I sat down and finally Googled our numbers. What percentage of podcasts fall in this? We were like top 0.0001% of podcasts. And I had no idea. And I was just so focused on all these other things making it better. I told Eric this the other day, and I'm just like, just behave as if this is the most success you'll ever receive. And I think that's like a good way to go about things, is just like, this is going great, like it's working when it is. Mm-hmm. And just really appreciating all the aspects. Keep it simple, allow yourself to be the beginner, lower the stakes, and get over yourself because we need you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Beautiful yelling at people,
Beautiful.
Alison. Way to yell at the people. Hey, friends, Awesome Empire. Thank you for freaking listening to this podcast. Thank you for 7 years of on and off fun. Thank you for being here. We'll do like an official wrap on the podcast, but we're getting to wrapping it up. And I'm going to leave you with this. Only you can be you, and you are already as awesome as you need to be. Give us a song, boy.
Here you go.